Space Station 14 is a game that features something called ghost roles, and they are quite literally roles for your ghost to take over. Ghosts are either spectators, or you turn into a ghost when you're dead, and they are ways for players to get back into the round if they're taken out of the round permanently, or just give players alternative ways of playing. Most ghost roles are pretty self-explanatory, but this is one of the largest and most common admin issues is that people take a ghost role and don't play it correctly, or don't play it the way that it was intended in quotes, and it can cause problems. So I will go over literally every ghost role in the game and what is expected of you. Hamlet the Hamster is a ghost role that is guaranteed on every single station. There is only one Hamlet. Lives in the station's bridge, has a bit of a temper, and is always hungry. You request it, all the ghost role rules are the same. You don't remember anything about your previous life. You're a totally new character. And Hamlet spawns in his hamster cage in the bridge. He is basically the captain's pet, and you cannot let yourself out by default, but you can shoo out of your cage, and this might be part of the temper, but you can break your cage and get out as Hamlet. And yeah, Hamlet is just a hamster. You are the captain's hamster. He can't speak. You are what I would call a neutral role. You're not meant to really cause problems. Like, you can eat food or something. Like, that's really the extent of your antagonism. I feel like Hamlet's probably one of the easiest to explain roles. You're a hamster. If you bite someone, expect to get stomped. Pun Pun is an honorable member of the Monkey Society in charge of the bar and helping bartenders in any way they can. Pun Pun is also a guaranteed role in every station, and he is actually basically a full-fledged role. You will be a monkey with bartender access. You even have a hand slot, meaning you can quite fully fetch drinks, no issue at all. And yeah, you can't speak English or common tongue, whatever our game references. You just listen to the bartenders. You even have your own Pun Pun ID, which is, again, a full-fledged bartender. You even have a hat, a headset slot, so you can listen to the radio. It's a service headset. Also a pretty simple role. You are a friend of the station. You are literally employed to the station, so do your job. Smile is, again, another pet that is of the friendly category. The sweetest creature in the world, Smile Slime. And it has basically no abilities. It can't attack, it cannot talk, and you basically just assist science. I often do see Smile walking around, dragging objects around. A very common bit that I see in this game is that you'll see Smiles with a top hat, and they'll just, like, do tricks with it. I've seen this more than once. I don't know why specifically, but yeah, you're just a rainbow slime that is technically Science's pet. So hang around Science. If not, most people realize Smile is a station pet and will talk to you. Describing Cognizine roles is a little difficult. Cognizine roles can be literally anything from, like, Ian or Lisa or whatever, the Hops pets, and I've seen people use Cognizine on dead bodies to come back as, and I don't, this video would be literally an hour long if I cover it, but the Cognizine makes you conscious, and that doesn't really change your affiliation, it just makes you conscious. Like, for example, if you're Lisa, and also it'll always say made conscious with the magic of Cognizine, so like, if you're Lisa, you have to use your judgment, well, I'm the Hops dog. Just because I have gained consciousness doesn't mean I'm suddenly just going to become a psychopath and start attacking things. Even though you can bite things, as Ian, you should not be doing so. That is not what they would be doing. The Space Dragon is essentially a boss fight for the station. Call in 3 carp rifts and take over this quadrant. You only have 5 minutes in between each rift before you would disappear. So it forces you to move fairly quickly to place your rifts, and once you're in, you'll have 3 actions: harm, devour, and summon Carp Rift. So you want to place a rift pretty quickly, otherwise you will literally disappear. This rift will make Space Carp come out of it, and this rift is also part of your life. So the Space Carp and all the relative Carp are still on your side. Holocarp and stuff like won't appear, but I'm just including them in this list. They are of the Carp faction, but really all you do is you can devour doors. You eat through them. You could do this for walls and such as well. And your goal is to take over the station and that means you have to keep your rifts safe. You use your carps strategically to kill people, and ultimately, when you run into somebody, you're going to want to kill them, which your carp will assist in. And once they are dead, you want them to be dead, you will turn on Devour, and you just left-click them to eat them, and you will just keep moving. Just to be thorough, like I said, Sentient Carp will spawn with the dragon through the rifts, and you just do exactly what it says. Help the dragon flood the station with carps. You will kill anyone that is not a carp on site, because that is your goal. Mice are pretty self-explanatory. You are a rodent. Food is your primary factor. You can run under tables, no problem, and it'll even let you see yourself under the tables because it like fades out. Simply alt-click on food or drink to eat it, and your goal is to just kind of be a nuisance. You're a pest. You can go to medical and spill chemicals. I'm going to obviously advise against that, at least to a degree. It's not really all that fun for chemists to have all their liquids spilled. If you're going to do it please do it in moderation. Like, it's kind of funny a little bit, I guess, but reasonably, a mouse would not just go start spilling 30 chemical jugs just because they can. The fact that spilling is instantaneous and is like a right-click interaction, to me, makes it feel somewhat unintended as well that you can even do that, because you can't even drag things as a mouse. Mothroaches are basically just mice. They do have a harm mode, and instead of eating any food that they can drink whatever, but they still eat cloth like an actual moth, so you can say goodbye to these pair of insulated gloves. The Rat King. You are the Rat King. Scavenge food in order to produce rat minions to do your bidding. The Rat King is a neutral role. Why are they a neutral role? The Rat King is a neutral role because your goals don't necessarily conflict with the station's ability to run, and you are able to communicate. So you could quite literally say AO to whoever you want. You can run under doors despite your size. On the side, you have two options. Raise army, spend some hunger to summon an allied rat to help defend you. And Rat King's domains spend some hunger to release a cloud of miasma in the air. The miasma actually acts as a healing field for you and your rats. As you can see, I got hungry using this, and if I press 2, you'll summon a rat instantly. And depending on whatever option you have selected, your rats will do those actions. So if I do follow, they will follow me. If I do stay, they'll stay right where I tell them to. So you can hide your rats and make yourself look weaker than you actually are, or you could decide to have your rats be with you. Cheese and loose them means that they'll just go attack the nearest thing. I don't really know what the difference is. I guess loose is just that they will specifically just roam, where if you tell them to cheese them, it's kind of just does the same thing. Either way, only use that if you're planning on actually hurting people. Otherwise, keep them on follow, and then they will not hurt anyone. Once you reach a certain level of hunger, I won't be able to use my abilities. You are too hungry to use this ability. All you have to do is find some food and walk up to it. Alt-click to eat. And you are very, very hungry, and you will be eating constantly as a Rat King. There is literally not enough food in the world for a Rat King. You can attack vending machines like so, in order to get the food out of them. You can also go up to a disposal bin, right-click and rummage, and this will essentially spawn mostly garbage, but it can spawn some food. That's pretty much it. It's up to you if you want to be an antagonist, and let me be clear, anyone could basically shoot you on sight. You are a giant rat. You are kind of scary. It makes sense that Nanotrescent doesn't really want giant rats on their station. So just because you have the option of being friendly doesn't mean other people have to be friendly towards you. So keep that in mind, and that's why you want to develop an army. The Revenant is an antagonist. You are a Revenant. Use your powers to harvest souls and unleash chaos upon the crew. Unlock new abilities with the essence you harvest. It actually directly says you're an antagonist. So you are a ghost. You can fly around anywhere, and you are not visible when you're not using abilities. The Revenant is pretty unfinished, I should say. In order to even get a point of stolen essence, you need to find somebody who has a soul. And that doesn't really help you out directly, because in order to steal their soul, they must be dead. Once somebody is dead, all you have to do is simply left-click to harvest their soul, and this will give you stolen essence. And be careful when you're doing that, you become visible and can be harmed. So once you get your stolen essence, you can then buy abilities. So there's Defile, Overload Lights, and Malfunction. They do exactly what they say. So Defile defiles the surrounding areas, ripping up floors, damaging windows, opening containers, and throwing items. Using it leaves you vulnerable. I will just purchase it and show you what it does. So if I use it in this room, for example, just press number 2. It just rips up the tiles. It didn't even damage the windows. It probably wasn't close enough, or I just didn't interact with it. It's not really that powerful, and it cost you some essence, which is not the same as stolen essence. For 25 essence, you can get the Overload Lights ability, and what it does is it shoots out electricity. It leaves you vulnerable for quite a while until it actually activates, and once it fully activates, it will shoot lightning out into people. It sometimes hits lights, but not always, but if it hits somebody, it will stun them for a short time. It's not that powerful, but you can use it to just kind of mess with people, and it's not too long of a cooldown, so like as you can see, you could use it again, and you just have to wait for your essence to recharge, but it really doesn't do that much damage. He's not even wounded. And finally, the last ability is Malfunction. It takes quite a lot of effort to get, and Malfunction basically just emags nearby machines, so if I use it right here, it emags quite a lot of doors, and if this wasn't a door with tiny fans, I would have spaced the whole area. And it leaves you completely physical, though, meaning you can't walk through walls after you use it, so you can get beat to death, you can get shot, you just have to be cautious. And it's a fairly short cooldown, and again, it just uses your essence, which recharges. You can cause quite a lot of annoyance and damage if you manage to get to this point, but it's pretty hard for a Revenant to get here. That means the crew would have had to have left out dozens of bodies to be harvested, and you don't really have an easy way of knocking people out like the Revenant used to be able to, so it's kind of an undeveloped role. It is really just annoying. It's not really dangerous anymore, but it's still a pretty cool ghost role. Ghost, literally. A lone operative is an antagonist. You are a lone nuclear operative. Destroy the station. This one's also pretty self-explanatory. You're a Syndicate operative tasked with destruction of the station. As an antagonist, do whatever is required to complete the task. You'll spawn on a small Syndicate ship. You'll be, well, alone. Here you'll find the new codes on the shelf. You'll have your pinpointer. There's a remote signaler to hook up to whatever you want. There's a suspicious toolbox full of all the tools that you'll need. There's even an advanced combat medical kit as well. There is a stealth box. Down here is a Cyber Sun pen and a spar of Syndicate soap and some food and water. On top of that, you also get access to some cool Syndicate drip, which I feel like is important to mention, and you will get access to a 40 TC store that is the same as the nuclear operatives. So if you're really feeling and you're really crazy, you could do a one-man Syndicate zombie bundle, but good luck to ending the bomb as a shambler. And you don't spawn into the station's way, so you should turn off your IFF. That way you're not instantly detected, and when you're ready, you just FTL to the station, and you just do whatever a Nuki does, but by yourself. Also, I almost forgot to mention, in the suit locker, there's an extra blood red, a free pair of blood red mag boots, and a gas mask. There is the Syndicate reinforcement, which is an antagonist. Someone needs reinforcements. You, the first person the Syndicate could find, will help them. So once you request it, normal Syndicate antagonist rules applies. Work whoever called you with and don't harm them. So for this example, I'm still on the Nuki ship. You start with basically nothing other than a Viper, a pinpointer, and a microbomb implanter. This is a Nuki reinforcement. It is no real different than the normal Syndicate reinforcement. The only difference is that you have a microbomb implanter. So yeah, your starting gear isn't that impressive. You do come with a Syndicate gas mask though, which is resistant to flashes, so that's pretty nice. And if you're a reinforcement for a lone op, you do get the free blood red as well, so that is worth considering. Otherwise, you are an antagonist and you will just do whatever you are asked to do, which could be 1,000 different things, so I can't possibly tell you what that is, but it's most likely going to involve killing someone or harming the station because, well, you're an antagonist. The Syndicate Monkey Agent is kind of the same thing, has even the same text. However, you will just appear as a monkey. Interestingly enough, you will actually learn the code words, but you can't speak, so you're just a monkey. And the only other difference is you start with an Omnizine cigarette, operative jumpsuit, and a outlaw hat. I would highly recommend you take those clothes off immediately. Most likely the person who summons you will tell you to do so, because then you just look like a normal monkey, otherwise you look like a valid monkey. And you have no other gear, and it is up to them to give you gear. You do have one hand slot, so you're still not quite as effective as a reinforcement, a normal Syndicate reinforcement, but you're more undercover than a normal reinforcement, because reinforcements have very obvious names that give them away instantly, where you as a Syndicate monkey will just be called a monkey. But anyways, do whatever you're asked. It's basically the same as a normal reinforcement, but you can't communicate.
Space ninjas are a very mechanically in-depth antagonist. They have access to many abilities and active abilities, which other antagonists really just do not have access to. Other antagonists rely specifically on equipment, where space ninjas, well, they rely on their equipment, but their equipment allows them to do many things. As a ninja, you will spawn somewhere in space with a jetpack. I'm not going to explain the jetpack, but realistically, you should probably keep the jetpack near you. The biggest threat a ninja has is stun batons. The reason why is because it just takes 2 stuns to stun you, and your sword can realistically only 4 hit people. So you do not really want to be meleeing somebody with a stun baton. That is extraordinarily risky, no matter who you are. Even with your extreme speed, it is still not that difficult to stun baton you. Anyways, the ninja outside the station has a few ways of getting in. Well, the easiest way would be to just pull out your sword. You must have your sword out to do this. And on the side, you'll have something. You have an ability that looks like a person with a blue shadow behind them. It is called a katana dash. If you press it, and then left click, you'll be able to teleport anywhere you can see as long as you have line of sight. So sometimes a little finicky, but you just have to keep trying it. If it doesn't work, you don't like lose anything. So if you do that, you'll teleport directly where you're seeing. However, you must be cautious because it is very loud and people instantly know you are a ninja. Realistically, you're going to get caught pretty quickly, or you're going to get spotted pretty quickly due to the fact that a lot of your abilities are really loud and just very obvious. And by the way, ninjas have access to the phase cloak. Toggle your suit's phase cloak, be aware if you're hit, all abilities are disabled for 5 seconds, including your cloak. So it instantly stealths you, and you can even teleport while stealthed. So I would recommend stealthing before you even teleport, just to make it harder to see where you are. It is worth mentioning that people with a sec HUD will always see like a square on the top right of your head. So your stealth isn't really all that useful against them. So there are times where being stealth just really doesn't matter, especially if you're fighting security. Anyways, all this stuff uses suit power. On the right side of your screen, you can see a UI indicator telling you where you are, but if you just shift-click your suit, you'll see the exact percentage. There are several ways to recharge this. One of them is to directly walk up to an APC, and there's an option called Toggle Ninja Gloves, which is how you do certain things like your objectives, like this is how you hack the comms console, but turning it on also lets you steal energy. And you can also do this while stealth, just to make it a little bit harder to see you. And yes, it will keep recharging your suit about 3% every tick, or 2 or 3% every tick, but I'm losing some because I'm invisible. But once you drain the APC fully, it'll start flickering, and it can give you away, so you have to be cautious about that. Either way, that is one way to restore your energy. Also, while your gloves are on, you can use it to do your communications computer objective, as you can see here. I'm not going to do the whole objective thing, that's a different video. Your gloves also act as an EMAG, and EMAGing doors does not use any suit power and can also be done while invisible, so feel free to go absolutely crazy with this. And if you left click somebody without harm mode on with your gloves, it acts as an instantaneous stun. They don't stay stunned for long, but you can basically chain stun somebody, and there's really nothing you can do. You have to be cautious. This uses a lot of power, so like 42% I use it, I'm down to 32. It takes about 10%. However, if you ever get in a fight with a security officer and they have a security light, you could do a very powerful action. Rather than charging your suit up, you can actually just take the battery and left click your suit with it, and now your suit has a high capacity battery and you'll be at 100%. And you could keep your old battery on you just so you can spam out abilities more. But with this new battery, if I use the same glove ability, you'll see that it only takes 4%. So it essentially it's well over double the amount of energy that you have, and that makes you extraordinarily powerful. So I would recommend trying to get a medium capacity or high capacity battery as soon as possible. Sec lights always have high capacity batteries. And yeah, you want to use your abilities as much as possible and avoid melee. You also can generate shurikens that will instantly that will instantly go in your hand. They do 8 slash and 10 piercing if you throw them, and if you throw them, they don't throw that fast, but making them only cost about 2% energy when you have a high capacity battery. So you can very, very rapidly make them. But like I said, they're not the greatest weapon, but just to deter someone, they can certainly be used for that. Another ability you have is a EM burst, which is electromagnetic pulse, and that will disable nearby stun batons, disablers, whatnot, you name it. And this will allow you to actually get into a melee fight with security. You can't slip because you have no slips, and if you can't get hit by a stun baton, you can melee something to death very quickly. I'm going to just drag them into the light. And let me heal them. The katana does a whopping 30 slash per hit, and if you can't get stun baton in melee, it will only take 6 melee hits to critically wound a security officer, but realistically you only need about 4 or 5 and then they'll bleed to death. But the katana does a massive amount of damage. You can't swing in stealth anymore, so if I'm stealth and swinged, it will reveal me. So anytime you're about to fight a security officer, I recommend you just have your suit charge, you press the EMP button, and then you're good to go. Another option you have to charge your batteries is to go into maintenance, follow these medium voltage cables until you find a substation. It can sometimes be a little hard to see without lights, but you want to find these engineering doors, and you can also steal power from substations, and it charges you much, much faster than an APC, and isn't quite as obvious that you're stealing power from it because it won't flicker the lights. And yeah, seeing in the dark is a little hard sometimes, but there we go. I am back out in the open. You can also steal from SMESs, but the only place you can really find those with actual battery is in engineering. But again, this could just be another option depending where you're at. And yeah, you just like the rest, you left click it and you'll sap energy from the SMESs. And things like hard hats will also have medium capacity batteries in them, so feel free to loot those as well and just keep extra batteries in your backpack. And your backpack also has tools in case you want to break into something even more quietly than an EMAG would. It's also less obvious. I almost forgot to mention the ability that lets you recall your katana. If you ever get stunned and you need to run away and somebody takes your katana from you, you could just press the button and it will instantly materialize a katana in your hand. Yeah, it's really simple, and your amount of dashes you have are actually tied to how many dashes are available in your katana. They regenerate once every 20 seconds, and you have 3 dashes, so feel free to use these as long as you have them, but I'd always recommend at least one if it looks like you're about to get overwhelmed. Even just teleporting a screen's length away with your speed is enough to completely disappear out of sight. But yeah, that's basically all of the unique abilities that a ninja has. You really, really want to utilize your EMPs and your instantaneous shocks in combat. You realistically can't lose a 1v1. In any 1v1 situation, you can either go for the instantaneous stun, or you can go for the EMP and then just cut them down, or EMP them, stun them, and then cut them down. You have a lot of options. Also, I will show you one more thing that might not be apparent. The energy katana has a 25% chance to reflect both energy and kinetic projectiles, so it's not an insanely high chance. In that scenario, they didn't reflect a single shot, so ninjas aren't quite immune to range combat, but they're so fast that hitting them is very difficult. And I just cannot get it to reflect at all right now, apparently. But the sword can reflect shots. It's a 25% chance, so shooting a ninja is a fairly good idea, but again, ninjas are never just going to be standing still. So if you can, shoot at them from a distance, because trying to fight them in melee is really difficult. But as a ninja, you should always utilize everything in your kit, because you don't want to fight fairly. You want to go for the stuns. Realistically, you should just be focusing on winning 1v1s, in my opinion.
Slimes is a random mid-round event. Everything around you irritates your instincts, destroy them. So basically, you just request them, and your goal is to damage things and kill people. It's a pretty simple role. You are an antagonist as a slime. Giant spiders Giant spiders, which can either be giant clown spiders or normal giant spiders, have a simple goal of wreaking havoc on the station's inhabitants. It doesn't tell you you're an antagonist, but you are indeed 100% antagonist. The spider clown is really loud when it moves, and the major difference is that its webs make people slip, where normal spiders webs make people slower, and yeah, you just bite things and kill. It's pretty simple. I'm just gonna lump these all together. There's a bunch of different mobs that you could get while Salvage Rex can spawn a bunch of different mobs. I'm just going to lump them all together. They can be anything like a Shark Minnow, which is kind of like a mini boss. They actually heal off drinking blood. That's pretty much their only unique mechanic. They also do blood loss damage. And the rest of them are just strong mobs. Like the Holocarp can't be shot by normal bullets, has to be hit by lasers or meleeed. There's also mobs like the Space Bear, the Space Tick, the Space Kangaroo. They can appear on the Salvage Rex, and you are an antagonist. Your goal is to specifically defend the Salvage Wreck and not leave it. So you're not meant to go attack the station. You're not supposed to attack the Salvager's ship. You're supposed to just defend this little piece of land that generates, and that is pretty much it. You just bite people. Certain creatures, when they get zombified, will become ghost rolls, for example. Like, if Ian, for example, gets killed by a zombie and turned into a zombie, you could take them over. You're an antagonist, search out the living, and bite them in order to infect them and turn them into zombies. Yeah, you're just a zombie. Go out, seek the living, bite them, probably die in the process, but do whatever you can to infect more people. It's pretty self-explanatory. Holoparasite and Holoclowns are pretty much the same thing. The only difference is the Holoclown is, well, basically just a clown. They have pockets, and they can't use guns. And the Holoparasite is more so just for meleeing things. Either way, if you request them, it doesn't directly tell you're an antagonist, but you are going to be an antagonist. I have taken over the Holoparasite, and as you'll notice, you're completely attached to the person. Like, I can't move on my own. I can turn on harm. And funnily enough, you can actually punch from your owner. And if you can punch them, but it just says you cannot attack your host. So that's really nice. You can't accidentally kill your host. But yeah, you can punch from their direction, but I wouldn't do that because it gives you away pretty badly. In order to actually do anything as a Holoparasite, your owner has to let you go. And I will give you a big tip. Do not talk as a Holoparasite. You can talk in normal chat. Hi. Everyone around you will instantly know that there's a Holoparasite talking, and your chat box will appear above your owner, so you'll kill them. And even if you whisper, people that are anywhere nearby will still see that, wow, there's a Holoparasite. Like, as soon as you see the word holo or something, you're screwed again. Only speak if your owner has given you very clear indication that they want you to give them a response. Don't ever talk on your own. If you do talk on your own, you are screwing your owner, and, I mean, you just don't want to do that. It's a rare role. People barely purchase this because of that reason. All it takes is a Holoparasite saying one thing and you're dead, and Holoparasites are also hard to effectively use, and now I'll show you how they mechanically work. So now that my Holoparasite has a soul, if you press the button, they will pop out. They are a mesmerizing world of hard light patterns, weaves a marvelous yet oddly familiar visage. It stands proud, tuning into its owner's life to sustain itself. So, you can hit your guardian yourself. You have to be very cautious of that. And if I use a health analyzer, yes, I punched a guardian and it caused some slight damage to myself. It has damage resistances. So that's definitely worth mentioning. The Holoparasite, now at this point, is very fast and can move on his own. So the Holoparasite can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles before it vanishes. I don't know why I just disappeared. Either way, you basically just punch things. You can't really move far away from your owner, for example. Like if I move here, I would disappear and snap back to the owner. Basically just listen to them. They're probably just going to tell you to punch someone or give someone, and they're not really that complex. It is worth mentioning, though, that Holoparasites and clowns can talk, so you have to be very careful to not out your trader buddy, or your trader host to be more specific, because that'd be really bad and against your entire purpose. Sometimes there will be a random event that will state, based on energy emissions we detected, we believe that some of the station's mechanical beings have developed clown-level intelligence, or whatever. It's just flavor text. But it will make random machines of sentience, such as Medidrobes, Mr. Chang's, you name it. Picks a random machine. You can request to take it over. You really can't do any form of antagonist activity, so I'm just going to say this is like a neutral role. You can randomly dispense an item, and you can yell at the non-robotic people. Other than that, yeah, it's you just get to yell into the wind. Botanists can also make things like hydroponics trays sentient as well through mutations, but I'm just going to lump them into the same thing. You're just an object that talks, and you can't really do anything else. Artifacts can gain random sentience, and that means you completely take them over. You can speak as them, and your ability to harm the station or help the station is pretty much completely random. You can activate your nodes, and depending on what your nodes are, that can help or hurt people. So, for example, I just made a monkey. Sometimes artifacts can literally do things like explode, cause radiation. So it is very dependent on what nodes you have, what your effects are, how much of an antagonist you are. But your goal is basically to just press the node button whenever you want and hopefully not get locked up for being too dangerous. But most scientists are crazy enough that they don't really care if you're dangerous, they'll just let you out anyway. Here are the 3 personal AI assistants. There is the Potato Artificial Intelligence, the Personal AI device, and the Syndicate Personal AI device. They all pretty much do the same thing. The Syndicate PA has slightly more going on, but ultimately you just play music, and you actually can access the Syndicate channel as a Syndicate PAI. So you could use this as a way to assist your Syndicate friend and relay them information, but you are a very obviously Syndicate tech. You have a red screen, you are labeled as a Syndicate pal, so you have to be cautious with that. Otherwise, though, you're just a talking music player. Basically, picture your sentient iPod. I nearly forgot Mr. Dips and Mr. Chips. They're basically just PAIs. So you pick them up, and they go in your hand, and if you press Z with each one, it'll say you insert your hand into the puppet. And if we check the ghost roll menus, yep, there is dummies. They're not labeled. They're basically the same. They just have different sprites. Considering they're dummies, I you can say whatever you want, but they're supposed to be the person doing ventriloquist stuff. But they also are ghost rolls, so you can decide yourself if they're just damn souls stuck in a puppet or if they're just really bad ventriloquism. The description of the sentient slimes is pretty misleading. When a liquid anomaly explodes, it will leave these sentient reagent slimes. They pretty much always are dangerous, or they're pretty much always dangerous or neutral. This one's an Cognizined slime, so I guess theoretically they range from antagonistic to partially helpful, but either way, in normal gameplay, the AI attacks you automatically. You're pretty much just expected to attack people with these, so I would label them as an antagonist. I mean, the only thing they could do is harm. They can't talk, they just blump, and you might be able to be spared by somebody if they realize they're an Cognizined slime. I don't really know our official ruling on these things. I mean, I'm assuming you're not supposed to be friendly, but you really can't do anything else other than be friendly, as like an Cognizined one, for example. So I guess this is kind of just a mixed bag. Basic bots can be built by Cargo. And of these basic bots, there's the Mime Bot, which is a Mime Bot, act like a mime but don't act like a Grey Tider. The Honk Bot, an artificial being of pure evil. The Supply Bot, deliver goods around the station, and Taxi Bot, drive the station crew to their destination. They all are very one-sided. They have very specific goals. For example, the Honk Bot can talk. Actually, all of them have full speech. And for example, the Honk Bot literally just goes around honking, and it can slip people. The Mime Bot, you just mime. The Taxi Bot, people can just get on top of you. People can sit in your seat, and you can drive them around the station. And the Supply Bot can't fit anyone in it, but it's a 40 storage bot that can hold huge. It's basically a mobile sentient duffel bag. So deliver goods to where they need to go, and that is pretty much the basic bots summed up. Cerberus is another antagonistic ghost roles. Obey your master, spread chaos. You're an intelligent, demonic dog. Try to help the chaplain and any of his flock as an antagonist. You're otherwise unrestrained. So basically, you're just a dog from hell that does a decent bit of damage, is slightly tanky, and you should be directly listening to whoever summoned you in, which is going to be the chaplain. Cerberus isn't meant to be friendly, but for some reason it's probably the most commonly abused role in the game for being friendly. You're a literal dog from hell, only summoned by traitors. Well, 99% of the time it's going to be a traitor. So, yeah, if the chaplain's not telling you to bite people, they're probably doing something somewhat wrong. But it's kind of a confusing role because you're supposed to obey the chaplain, and if the chaplain tells you not to bite people, it's like, well, you can't really fault the Cerberus for that. So it's just a demonic dog. Listen to your chaplain, and most likely end up biting people, or yeah. Remilia is another chaplain familiar. Covering this one somewhat separate. You are an intelligent fruit bat. Follow the chaplain around. Don't cause any trouble unless the chaplain tells you to. Yeah, just do exactly that. It's pretty simple. You're a bat. Follow the chaplain. You cannot talk, and you're not an antagonist unless the chaplain tells you to do something antagonistic. And at that point, just do whatever they say. And if the chaplain ends up being not an antagonist, well, that's not your fault. Just do whatever they tell you to do. The artificial brain is another ghost role. It's probably the most complex ghost role. You can literally be a cyborg that has dozens of different functions, or you might literally just be a talking artificial brain. So I'm just going to explain the cyborgs very quickly. Cyborgs are complicated. I'm not going to be able to explain them very easily in a video that's just about ghost roles. By default, though, you are to serve the crew. You have 3 laws, and since you are purely a cyborg, you're not even a previous person, you're a fake brain, you're artificial. You just follow these laws, and you have no other memories. So basically, you're just a very loyal worker to the station. Don't injure the crew, assist the crew, and protect yourself as long as you're not violating your other laws. And depending on whatever type of cyborg you are, you could be an engineering cyborg, service cyborg, general cyborg like this one, medical cyborg, so on. You will just probably assist those departments. Somebody will probably give you more direction. And the reason why this job can get very complicated is because
Ion storm detected near the station. Please check all AI controlled equipment for errors.
You can get your laws randomly scrambled through a random event called the Ion Storm, which can do so many different things that makes it hard to interpret. And at any time, if it's a Syndicate round, somebody with a EMAG can walk up to you and zap you. And what this does is it turns you into an antagonist. So now if you reread the laws, only the person who emags you and people they designate as such are Syndicate agents. You must not injure Syndicate agents, not crew anymore. So basically, it just replaces that with the crew with Syndicates, and Law 4, you must maintain secrecy. So things could get real complicated as a cyborg. They're pretty much intentionally designed to be somewhat confusing. That's why I've done several other videos for it, but that's off topic. Cyborgs also need charge, so you can pretty much always find the recharging stations in Science. You just open it up with E and close it. On the side, you'll see your battery, and just once you're charged, you're good to go again. You speak full English. You also have access to whatever radio channels your laws say you do, and you could even just click on it, and it'll instantly state your laws to that radio channel. Obviously, don't state these laws specifically for an antag, because remember, you're supposed to maintain secrecy, so don't go blurting out your laws as a Syndicate Borg. Also, if you get shift-clicked by somebody with your panel open, it will also directly say that your law governing internals are damaged, meaning that anyone who looks at you will know that you're emagged and need to be destroyed. Closet skeletons are a chaotic neutral ghost role. Wreak havoc. You're a primordial force with no allegiance. Live happily with the crew or wage sweet skeletal war. You don't remember any of your previous life. There's no specific rules. You will spawn in a random container, for example, spawn a crematorium. You don't spawn with anything on you other than a gray jumpsuit and shoes. You could do antagonist activities like kill someone and take their clothes, or you could just try to work your way up in the crew. Most of the time, skeletons try to be friendly and get all access. It seems to be the gimmick that's going on right now anyways. I would obviously avoid doing mass sabotage. I mean, you're just a skeleton. I don't really think, like, you're not like a Syndicate agent. But the thing does say wage war, so I guess it's up to you how far you really want to go. Again, in general, I try to remind people that don't try to ruin it for everyone else. Like, you could probably go Plasma Flood as a skeleton. maybe it's funny, maybe there's a time for that, but don't like make a habit out of it. It's not fun to do the same gimmick over and over. Anyways, that gets it's a little too preachy. But yeah, you are chaotic neutral. That pretty much sums up this video. It's really long, I apologize, but I wanted to make this video to try to help clear up some confusion around certain ghost roles. Most of them are pretty well explained, but not all of them. Anyways, I may have missed one or two. I tried to write down a big list of everything. I feel like I covered pretty much everything, and if I didn't cover it, it's probably so similar to another role that I just forgot it. There's really not that many, and the major ones are pretty obvious that they're antagonists, but people still kind of mess around with it and can cause issues. There are unique scenarios that pop up, like admin events. Obviously, I can't explain those because those could be anywhere from Death Squad to ERT to just another person. And there's also the really weird scenarios, like I mentioned earlier with Cognizine, where people can literally resurrect dead bodies that are found on Salvage. And at that point, it's like, you're not technically crew, but you're not like forgotten either, so like I don't know, it gets confusing. Anyways, thank you for watching.